The man who says he killed Osama bin Laden also says he can't pay his bills, can't afford health care, and doesn't want to carry a gun ever again. In this Esquire magazine cover article appears online today for the very first time. The SEAL Team 6 members, dubbed the Shooter, reveals these new compelling details about the May 2011 raid in which he says he killed the leader of al-Qaeda, as well as the personal battles he now faces in post-military life. There is a lot to go through with my panel today. Let me welcome you all. Lauren Ashburn, editor-in-chief of the Daily Download, Jackie Reed, radio and TV personality, Andrew Kaczynski, BuzzFeed.com reporter, John Murray, entertainment journalist and pop culture expert, and we also have Barbara Starr, Pentagon correspondent, to get through this with us as well. I just want to read this because this is a pretty stunning 27-page article. I read every word. This is the part where the shooter describes pulling the trigger and killing bin Laden. Let me quote. "In that second, I shot him 2 times in the forehead. Bap, bap. The second time, as he's going down, he crumbled onto the floor in front of his bed, and I hit him in the head. Same place. He was dead, not moving. His tongue was out. I watched him take his last breaths. And I remember as I watched him breathe out the last part of air, I thought, is this the best thing I've ever done or the worst thing I've ever done? This is real, and that's him. Holy bleep." Let me just open this up to all of you. How many of you wanted to know the nitty-gritty details of this raid in Pakistan?
I definitely did. No question about it.
Why?
Because the moment in history that would be recorded by seeing that and hearing it, and everybody was here celebrating it, and you want to know exactly what happened. And Phil Bronstein needs a medal or a prize, I guess, for this. He really did a great job, the ex-editor of the San Francisco Chronicle and the former husband of Sharon Stone. And he has just captured this moment, and his source is incredible. Calling him the shooter, I think is great because he didn't bring up his name. And
he doesn't want his name out there, says he doesn't want money, doesn't want to write a book, doesn't necessarily need a movie.
Doesn't want the millions.
Jackie, do you agree with Lauren? Do you agree? You wanted to know?
Well, I want to know, but my concern is, do we need to know, and does it put future missions like this, maybe not on this level, in jeopardy when you give away such details of what happened before that mission, what happened during it, and even what happened after? I just wonder about the security of our soldiers who participate in missions like this moving forward, if it's such a smart thing just to give out those details.
Let me read one more quote, because I thought this was interesting. I don't know how many of you have seen Zero Dark 30, and then this woman who basically found, the CIA agent found this home in Abbottabad, Pakistan. They said he brought the body back to Jalalabad base to show McCraven and the CIA. Quote, "While they were still checking the body, I brought the agency woman over. I still had all my stuff on. We looked down and I asked, 'Is that your guy?' She was crying. That's when I took my magazine out of my gun and gave it to her as a souvenir. 27 bullets left in it. Quote, I hope you have room in your backpack for this. That was the last time I saw her." But Barbara Starr, here's my question, because I wanted to bring you in, because the thrust of the piece is, here's what he says he did and how he shot and killed the most wanted terrorist in the world. But really it's, okay, so now what? You know, what does he do? He can't exactly say to future employers, I'm the guy who took down bin Laden, give me a job. I mean, this really proposes a problem for him.
Well, you know, when you were asking, do we want to know, look, you know, what do we think in this country that we are asking of our troops when they go out there and do this kind of work, whether it's bin Laden or just some compound raid in Afghanistan some night that nobody ever hears about? This is the trauma of battle, that these guys are coming back. They are struggling. They're getting out of the military. They do have combat stress. They have unemployment. They're looking for work. If you leave the military before 20 years, you don't get a pension, you don't get retirement. That is well known, well understood. So I mean, it sounds so cold-hearted, but this is what it's all about. And perhaps what this man is doing in this article, by giving Phil Bronstein some of these very personal thoughts, is he's making the country confront what it asks of young troops over this last decade of war.
I want to talk unemployment and veterans with you, Andrew, in just a minute. But finally, Barbara, how do we know for sure this is the man who pulled the trigger?
Well, you know, Phil Bronstein's a respected journalist. There have been others out there on the team who have talked. Matt Bissonette famously wrote the book, No Easy Day, caused a huge kerfuffle. And it's worth noting that there's now a lot of competing versions about who killed bin Laden in that upper floor of that compound in Abbottabad. you know, who exactly of 3 or 4 guys pulled the trigger that were the final bullets for bin Laden's life. I think at the end of the day, it probably doesn't make much of a difference. He's dead.
Andrew, we know that this they call him the shooter. He left the military, left the SEALs 4 years shy of his pension, 20 years. So you know, I read that his pension, had he stayed all 20, would have been half his base pay, $2,197, which is equivalent to a member of the Navy choir. Big picture, what needs to change in terms of money, employment, even just PTSD issues for our men and women coming home?
Well, I think it highlights a pretty good point that, you know, we don't have necessarily the support system for a lot of our veterans when they come home. You know, 1 in 10 veterans lack health insurance, and that doesn't really seem like a lot, but that equals out to about 1.3 million Americans.
Why though? Why?
It's just we don't have that support system there. I mean, 27% have post-traumatic stress disorder. And I mean, I was someone who I interned in a congressional office when I was in college in a district office where they deal with lots of Veterans Affairs issues. And part of, you just get that feeling when you work there, like our veterans really deserve better than this. I mean, I would call to Voice of Veterans Concern, who called our office, and I'd be on hold for 45 minutes. And these are issues that really need to come to light, and there needs to be a better system for these people.
John, you get the final word. You've been hearing all of this back and forth. What do you think?
You know, I'll say this. You know, my mom's ex-husband was a Vietnam vet, and it took him years to finally get his full benefit. So we definitely need a better infrastructure for our troops. And the least that we can hope with the shooter is that maybe Esquire paid him for the article. Maybe that'll be a drop in the bucket to help him as he's struggling financially.
I don't think he's getting a dime. Don't think he's getting a dime.
That's sad. That's really sad.
No, I highly, highly recommend. I echo what Lauren Ashburn said. This is stellar journalism. Cover of Esquire, 15,000 words. Read every one. Highly recommend it. And John, I'm coming back to you because I hear you're a resident cruiser. Not the vacation they imagined. Broken toilets, fist fights over food. That is what thousands of stranded cruise passengers are facing right now. But it's not the uncomfortable conditions that have the passengers so upset. Here's what really is ticking them off. Next. More than 4,000 passengers and crew spent last night stranded aboard a cruise ship in the Gulf of Mexico. What happened? A fire happened. A fire in the engine room of this Carnival Triumph left the ship dead in the water yesterday. So today, the Coast Guard arrived to help this drifting ship tow it toward Progressive, fly the passengers back to the United States. But here is how one man's wife, who is on board the ship, is describing this.
There's no power. They were having to use the restroom in buckets and bags. Whenever she called me, there was another cruise ship that had pulled up there beside them and all to give them food. And up until that point yesterday, they had not eaten anything at all. And she was able to get cell phone service off of the other ship's tower.
Welcoming back my panel. Sorry, some people may be eating lunch, but using the restroom in buckets and bags. John, I have to begin with you because I hear you've been on a cruise, every year for the last 9 years. Tell me why people should keep cruising.
Yes, Brooke, let me tell you, up until 2011, Jackie Reed and I were actually on the same cruise
You guys
for about
are cruising
9
buddies.
years. Yes, and so it was a huge morning radio show cruise, but the last 3 years going into it, there was a lot of trepidation because stories like this. And I think that's why enrollment and participation of passengers coming on the ships began to dwindle because people are afraid to be stuck at sea. There's not a lot you can do out there, and we've heard the horrific stories about, you know, not being able to get food, the bathrooms not working. Nobody wants to deal with that.
From Carnival, and Carnival said, we've always had ample but then obviously you hear from people who are stuck on this boat and they say, yeah, not so much. That's not at all the case. Apparently Carnival's, giving them reimbursement of the trip and then some. Andrew, is this good enough? What do you do if you're Carnival?
I mean, I don't know what you do if you're Carnival. I think you try and keep these issues out of light as much as you can.
Keep them off CNN?
Yeah, keep them off CNN. But here we are talking about it. But I mean, I looked up before I came on incidents that I didn't even know about, and a lot of them were with Carnival Cruise Lines, which makes sense. It's one of the biggest cruise lines in the world, if not the biggest. But but I was seeing outbreaks of noroviruses and lots of ships that have to return to port because of engine failures, and there are all these incidents in 2012. And I mean, I've never been one who would ever want to go on a cruise. I'm scared of water, but it really makes me almost question other people's decision to go on them.
I know, it could be like reason
Brooke,
562 why not to cruise. Go ahead, jump in.
I was going to say, if you're asking what Carnival should do, I think all of these cruise lines collectively should hire Olivia Pope from Scandal. I mean, it's a PR nightmare, especially with the Costa Concordia still sitting off the coast of Tuscany a year later. And then you had the incident last week with the lifeboat, it seemed, and the norovirus. It's incident after incident. This is going to become even worse of a PR nightmare for them.
Okay.
I mean,
Lauren,
I'm gearing up to go on another cruise,
I hear you,
and I don't know
Jackie.
what to pack.
Lauren, one word for all of you people.
Are the make goods, go ahead, what's your one word? And then my question is, are the make goods good enough?
Titanic. I mean, come on. Like, cruise ships sink. They have rough waves. They have all of these problems. I've never been on a cruise ship in my life because I'm scared, not because I don't like water. And Andrew, do you bathe?
Oh, TMI.
shower.
TMI in the middle of the day,
But
guys.
I thought you were afraid of water. But you know what? I think the real issue is regulation. I think that the Coast Guard has not implemented proper regulation for cruise ships. There is the Cruise Vessel Security and Safety Act, but these ships are traveling to different countries, and I think in addition to all of the problems that we've been talking about, sexual assaults are probably the highest reported crime on cruise ships, and I think there needs to be a reevaluation of those regulations. At
the same time, to be fair to the industry, for every time we're sitting here on CNN talking about something that went awry, there are many, many cruises that are just A-OK, and they go, under the radar for that. Appreciate it, all of you today. Lauren Ashburn, Andrew Kaczynski, Jackie Reed, John Murray, thank you very much.